Thank you, Mamita. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Q4 FY21 result conference call of Ashok Leyland. From the management team, we have with us Mr. Vipin Sondhi, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Gopal Mahadevan, Director and Chief Financial Officer, Mr. K.M. Balaji, Vice President, Corporate Finance. I'll now hand over the call to Mr. Vipin Sondhi for his opening remarks, post which we can move on to the Q&A. Over to you, Mr. Sondhi.
Your conference is being recorded.
Thank you. Thank you, Nishit. Or namaste and good morning to all the viewers and all the listeners. Thank you very much for being on this call. Gives me tremendous pleasure to be in touch with you again and through this post-result conference call of Ashok Leyland, and I thank you very much again for the interest shown in Ashok Leyland. Much appreciated. First, of course, I hope all of you, your family members, safe and healthy during this challenging pandemic situation, especially the second wave. And it's so important we don't let our guard down while enabling the vaccination process to be accelerated. You're probably aware that our vision, Ashok Leyland's vision, is to be a top 10 global CV player, creating reliable and differentiated products and solutions while delivering outstanding stakeholder value. While we are focused to achieve our vision, a deep sense of social responsibility, as many of you over the years would have seen, also lies at the heart of Ashok Leyland. We firmly believe that the success of our business is inextricably linked to that of our stakeholders, and for over 70 years, we work towards the good of our customers, employees, communities, value chain partners, very importantly, the investors, and these trying times will be no exception. We at Ashok Leyland remain committed to the prosperity of our stakeholders. Sustainability is the foundation upon which this commitment will continue to be built. In order to bring in a singular focus across the various sustainability initiatives going beyond corporate social responsibility, which we are already doing, we've carved out a separate environmental, social, and governance ESG committee. You're all familiar with ESG, an ESG committee of the board headed by an independent director at our recently concluded board meeting. The role of this board committee will be to provide appropriate oversight and guidance in the company's journey on organization-wide ESG initiatives, priorities, and leading ESG practices. I'll now run you through the quarter four and the full year performance. After witnessing volume degrowth for 8 consecutive quarters, the MHCV domestic truck industry volume started registering a year-on-year growth from Q3, 16%. This continued in Q4, wherein volumes doubled, driven by the lower base of last year. Last year, quarter four volumes witnessed ramping down consequent to the transition to BS6 emission norms, effective, as we are all aware, 1st April 2020. While the bus TIV continues to lag, and we know the reasons thereof, it is expected to recover with the opening up of restrictions gradually and the replenishment of fleet to BS6 by the state transport undertakings. During Q4 FY21, year-on-year MHCV truck volumes for Ashok Leyland have grown at 111%, which is better than the rate of growth of the industry. Ashok Leyland's MHCV truck market share for Q4 FY21 has therefore improved to 28.9%, vis-a-vis 27.6% in Q4 FY20. Sequentially, over Q3 FY21, MHCV truck volumes for Ashok Leyland have grown by 57% in Q4 FY21, which is higher than the growth of the industry of 53%, thereby resulting in market share improvement of 0.8%, 28.9% in Q4 versus 28.1% in Q3. This performance was backed by the successful launch of the AVTR, what we call the Avtar range, India's first modular truck platform. The Avtar platform gives customers a choice to customize their truck as per their unique requirements. And this platform has been delivering best-in-class total cost of ownership across segments, leading to customer delight. The impact of commodity price increases, particularly steel, which went up significantly in Jan 21, has been partially negated through price increases and internal cost reduction initiatives. We've taken price increases in Q3 as well as in Q4. The demand for LCVs is driven by e-commerce and growth in the rural economy. Domestic LCV volume for Ashok Leyland have sequentially improved by about 7% in Q4 FY21. LCV volume for Q4 FY21 was at 17,042 numbers, which is higher than last year, 8,057 numbers by 112%. The launch of the Bada Dost was a success and has been well accepted by the customers in the market, and more than 4,550 vehicles have been sold in Q4 FY21. On a full year basis, LCV domestic volumes for Ashok Leyland have grown by 4% at 46,671 numbers. Last year, it was 44,912 numbers, bucking the industry trend. LCV truck volumes for the industry actually degrew by about 11.5%. Despite the pandemic, our MHCV and LCV exports at 3,164 numbers have grown by about 8% sequentially. Quarter 3 FY21 was 2,941 numbers and is also 40% higher than Q4 last year at 2,255 numbers. On a full year basis, our export volumes at 8,001 is lower than last year, 8,920 numbers by 10%, a lot because a number of regions around us were closed because of the pandemic. Revenue for the fourth quarter has grown by 45% sequentially to rupees 7,000 crores and is also 82% higher than quarter 4 last year, which was rupees 3,838 crores. On a full year basis, rupees 15,301 crores of revenue in the current year vis-a-vis rupees 17,467 crores last year, which is lower by 12.4%. EBITDA has improved to 534 crores, 7.6% in Q4, up from rupees 254 crores, 5.3% in Q3. Q4 EBITDA is also higher than Q4 last year, rupees 183 crores, by about 1.9 times. Full year EBITDA at rupees 535 crores, 3.5%, is lower than last year, rupees 1174 crores, 6.5%, by about 54%. Ashok Leyland has reported a PAT of rupees 241 crores in Q4, vis-a-vis an after-tax loss of rupees 19 crores in Q3. The after-tax loss in Q3 was primarily due to a one-time VRS charge. On a full year basis, the after-tax loss was at rupees 314 crores, vis-a-vis a PAT of rupees 240 crores last year. Ashok Leyland has manufactured 26,596 MHCVs in Q4, 17,911 MHCVs during Q3, and has ended the quarter with an MHCV inventory of 3,448 numbers, 3,171 numbers in Q3. Full year production was 54,071 MHCVs, vis-a-vis 71,189 MHCVs last year. MHCV inventory was 1,243 numbers in March 20, representing vehicles for exports and defense. Q4 closing operating working capital was negative at 133 crores, which is lower than negative 525 crores in Q3. FY20 operating working capital was also negative at 667 crores. Capital expenditure for the full year was contained at rupees 621 crores as compared to rupees 1292 crores last year. Capex incurrence is towards the modular business program and the Phoenix program, etc. Investments in the current year was rupees 368 crores vis-a-vis rupees 447 crores invested in the same period last year. Net debt as on 31st March 21 was at rupees 2,607 crores, That's a gearing of 0.37 times, up from rupees 2,005 crores. That was a gearing of 0.28 times as of 31st March 20. Net debt as on 31st December 20 was at rupees 2,880 crores, a gearing of 0.43 times. The board has recommended a dividend of rupees 0.60 per equity share of rupee 1 each for the financial year ended 31st March 2021. Now moving on to the outlook. The domestic automotive industry saw healthy sequential recovery in the second half of FY 2020-21 post the gradual removal of the lockdown. However, with the sudden onset of the second wave, the industry has again received a setback. Regional restrictions imposed in several states have again brought the country to a halt during May and June 2021. Rural sentiment, which was untouched in the first wave, is likely to be subdued after the second wave, but there is a flip side to this as well, a flip positive side. We think that the onset of a more normal monsoon and therefore healthy crop harvests coupled with focused government support and incentive schemes are likely to support household cash flows and therefore rural sentiment as well. Quarter 1 of FY22 is different from the same period last year, as we are now better prepared this time. With the second wave gradually ebbing and a possible third wave on the anvil as mentioned earlier, we must continue to be extremely cautious and focus our efforts on vaccination and safety protocol. We, however, expect a quarter-on-quarter recovery during FY22. Most segments covering MHCV and LCV trucks and buses would continue to report growth on a year-on-year basis, mirroring the expected growth of GDP at 9.5% this year. MHCV trucks will benefit from construction, a lot of government spending on infrastructure, and last-mile connectivity demand propelled by e-commerce is likely to support LCV truck volumes. The passenger segment has been impacted due to closure of schools, work from home, low state transport undertaking demand, and weak tourism prospects. However, as the markets open up and economic revival takes place, coupled with favorable policy initiatives by the government for state transport undertakings, we expect to see an increase in bus demand as well. Commodity prices are at an all-time high. Steel, aluminum, and copper are expected to remain at current multi-year highs for a few months before a possible softening in the second half of FY22. As in the past, we are further enhancing our focus and thrust on VAVE programs, which together with product price corrections will help mitigate commodity price movements in a more sustainable way. We are closely monitoring the availability of electronic control units, ECUs, and are in close touch with various suppliers. Going forward, we foresee tremendous opportunities. We will continue to grow the exports, defense, PSB, LCV, and parts businesses, even as we expand the reach and products of our core MHCV business. Our focus on digital will help leverage the benefits of efficiency and cost. Customer requirements will be at the core, the heart of all our digital initiatives. The emerging businesses such as electric vehicles, the EVs, and customer solutions business, CSB, will assist in complementing the core business. As you're perhaps aware, in line with the expanding importance of electric vehicles and green mobility, Ashok Leyland has created a dedicated EV-only entity called Switch Mobility. Switch Mobility brings together Ashok Leyland's capabilities both from Optare UK and Ashok Leyland's EV division. With a dedicated team of people around the globe and combining the best of Indian and British design, technology, frugal engineering, and sourcing advantage, we aim to create unique products and offerings for our customers globally. Furthermore, we also plan to create another company which will provide mobility as a service to end customers for EVs. Through this, we expect to differentiate our EV solutions by capturing the entire value chain. We at Ashok Leyland are rock solid and resilient and are confident and extremely well positioned as a pure play commercial vehicle player with new generation products, talented people to deliver profitable growth as the market revives. And I thank you once again on behalf of all of us in Ashok Leyland for the interest that you've shown in us. And with this, I throw open the floor for questions. Gopal, Balaji are with me today to answer them. Thank you very much. Back to you, Nishit.
Thank you, sir. Ladies
Sorry,
and gentlemen.
Momita. Back to you, Momita.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question and answer session. If you have a question, please press star and 1 on your telephone keypad and wait for your turn to ask the question. If you would like to withdraw your request, you may do so by pressing star and 1 again. Our first question comes from Mr. Binay Singh from Morgan Stanley. Please go ahead, sir.
Hi, team. Thanks for the opportunity. Congrats on good numbers in a very tough environment.
Can you be a little louder, Binay?
Hi, sir. Is this better?
Yeah, hi.
Thanks for the opportunity. Congrats on good numbers in a very tough environment. Could you talk a little bit about your operating margin both? Is there any one-off in any of the line items? And secondly, could you comment on the gross margin, which is at a multi-quarter low despite a very good product mix? So how do you see it playing out? So that's the first question. Secondly, on your electric vehicle initiative, Switch Mobility, what sort of a product action do we see from Ashok Leyland, both in India and globally in the coming financial year? So is there anything near term that we see on the electric vehicle side playing out? Thanks.
Okay, I'll just attempt. What I'll do is I'll answer the operating margin and just give a quick dialogue on the EV and then hand it over to our MD. See, I think what we have been doing over the last 4 quarters, there are 3-4 things that I would want to share with the investors. One is, when we opened it with COVID in Q1 of last year, we actually had the odds stacked against us because when the economy started, when the unlocking happened, more in the rest of the country than in the south. And for us, it was actually a little bit of negative. That's why while we kind of followed the rules, etc., but from Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, if you were to look at it, our market share started to consistently improve. Once the unlocking was kind of more rational and it was spread out throughout the country. Not rational, I would say it kind of spread out equally throughout the country. That's how we saw market shares going up. While we did that, at the beginning of the year, last year itself, the entire leadership team had decided that we need to take some, while we will try to enhance revenues, we will also kind of, button down on the costs, ensuring that by the time we come to Q3 and Q4, the performance of the company gets better and better, which is exactly what has happened in Q4, which we were discussing last year as well. So there was this large initiative that we had called T750, and then the sales and marketing team were actually spreading the network to see how do we get better traction with customers in a very tight market, which was having the challenges of COVID. And thirdly, most importantly, Nishit, as you mentioned, the other part was I would say the non-MHCV business has done wonderfully well. And you've seen LCV, you've seen aftermarket, power solutions, and even exports started to recover by the 4th quarter. Still some miles to go because, the effect of COVID is still there. But I think all of this kind of converged into Q4. And we must remember, this has been an exceptionally challenging year for the industry, not only because of COVID, because a general thing, which was all through the world. The second challenge was that we were actually all of us, all MHCV manufacturers were launching BS6, right? Completely new technology in an economy which was completely kind of closed. The third was, of course, I think our MD mentioned about the availability of semiconductors, which was again a big challenge. And then we also saw continuous locking and unlocking that was happening in the transportation business, and the bus business was virtually kind of, an industry which typically does about 40,000 units was doing 7,500 last year. I'm giving approximate numbers. So we said that this is what it is, and we need to work around it and work through it and work over it to ensure that we are able to deliver margins which are improving quarter on quarter and doing possibly well in fourth quarter. Nothing exceptional has happened in the fourth quarter which has improved margins, to answer your question. And with respect to the gross margins and contributions, there has been a challenge. Let us understand that, because all of you know this better. Commodity prices, especially steel, has been going through the roof, and we have seen that happening even in the, as we speak. So we expect that, the heated steel prices will start to kind of cool off sometime in the second half, and that should also help. As far as the EV initiative is concerned, all I would say is that this is very important. I think, can we request everyone to mute? There's a lot of noise. Thank you. So the other thing that I would say is that, EV is an important initiative. EV and alternative energies are very important initiatives, and we need to be future ready even as we kind of, grow in the current scenario, which is internal combustion, which will also continue. So which is why the idea was to have the whole electric vehicle initiatives coming through Switch. But more of that, I think, would be better heard from our MD. Vipin, you may want to add.
I just want to add to what Gopal said. It's really creating, you're aware we have Optare in the UK, and this carved out is Optare EV and the division that we have in Ashok Leyland, so that we capture the strengths and synergize across UK and India and put up what will be a focused EV company, which is Switch. Now, we are working on product designs and development, and obviously we'll speak to you separately when we are absolutely ready to announce that. But to just give you the brief up, Ashok Leyland, as you know, already makes EV buses. We already are plying in Ahmedabad for the last few years and recently have started in Patna. So that process goes on as Switch gets ready. And we will be back to you when we are ready to talk more about the future on the EV buses. But you'll hear a lot about it.
Thanks for that, team. Just a follow up on the gross margin thing. How do you expect the margin to trend from here on? Could you talk about the price hikes that you've taken to offset these, or anything planned in the near future?
See, we are doing two things. One is, there is three things that we're working on, and each of them are actually kind of dependent or inversely dependent on the other. One is we will continue to increase our penetration in all the markets. That's important for us. We are a pan-India player and not just merely a southern player. So those initiatives, I'm talking purely about MHCV. And there is this huge opportunity in LCV, which we have not talked about, because while we talk about MHCV, LCV is a super critical business for us now. And we have, all that we have done in the past, we are kind of reaping the benefits of it now. Compliments to the entire team, not only LCV, but the entire Leyland team, who have actually worked wonderfully well over the last year. Because all our product launches have gone pretty well. We launched AVTR and MHCV, completely differentiated from the rest of the pack. And LCV Bada Dost was launched, and in case some of you don't know, the Bada Dost got the CV of the Year award across vehicles, and it's an LCV, mind you. So it's a completely differentiated product. It's an important segment. It has opened up a new slot for us, and so we have Dost and Bada Dost running parallelly, and that has again improved the overall revenues and the margins for us. This is the second part. The third part is, this is one trend. The second thing is, of course, we need to, as we increase our penetration and also our share of customer business, the second thing is on cost. So we would continue to work on cost. There is, like last year, we had T750. We have another initiative that is being run, and that is the whole program is to look at how do we manage material cost more efficiently, and that could be a whole bunch of initiatives, including looking at alternative parts. We're looking at design. If there are improvements that can be done which do not affect the product quality, in fact enhance it, but at the same time, kind of give a cost advantage to it. So this is the second part that we are looking at. The third part is, of course, the overheads. So we will continue to kind of adjust the overheads. See, one of the challenges that we have as a large organization, which is very clear that it needs to be in the global top 10, is to ensure that we don't, in the interest of the short term, shortchange the long term. So wherever we require to make certain investments or costs, we are continuing to doing that. But at the same time, if you look at our overheads of last year, we have been able to manage it very astutely, and that initiative will continue. So this three-pronged strategy, I believe, should help us to do what is right, which is to look at improving margins. But at this moment, to state that we will be able to continue on improved margins, etc., is a little too early because we don't give this forward-looking statements. All we tell you and share with investors is the efforts that the entire management team is taking to ensure that we continuously work on cost and efficiency. I think I'll now, Vipin, would you want to add something, especially on the pricing and what we're doing, and also on the VE400 initiatives?
Yeah, no, I think you've summarized it very well, Gopal. I mean, just to say that every aspect of cost and operating efficiency is focused by each one of our colleagues, and obviously we are running enthusiastic campaigns with people participating so that every element of waste in the value chain is identified and removed while we continue to invest in opportunities for growth and make sure that the customer end is actually seen and focused upon. Digital has helped us a lot to identify a lot of it. So there's a digital play taking place right across the organization with the customer at the heart of the decision-making process. Back to you.
Thanks, team. Thanks for the detailed response.
Thank you, sir. Participants are requested to restrict with 2 questions during the initial rounds. The next question comes from Mr. Raghu Nandan from Emkay Global. Please go ahead, sir.
Congratulations, sir, on good set of numbers, and thank you for the opportunity. Sir, 2 questions. On LCV side, more launches were expected for Bada Dost range, and even capacity expansion was also planned. If you can share some updates there, it will be helpful. Secondly, on engine, defense and spares businesses, can you share some details for FY21 performance and directionally your expectations ahead for these segments? Thank you.
So I'll keep this brief but better answered by our MD. I think we will continue to look at opportunities to fill in the slots in LCV. What the variants are in Bada Dost, how much will be the capital investment, we'll have to come back to a little later. But all we can tell you is that we are moving very, very fast in LCV. We are growing very fast. Our market share has grown, and we will continue to fill in the slots because there is this opportunity. So, there is this opportunity to kind of fill in the slots at Dost level and at Bada Dost level as well. And we are missing out one more important thing, which we have shared with you earlier. Our entire export strategy is to look at, accessing some of the markets, addressable markets with a smaller vehicle, which is LCV, and then penetrating it further with ICV, and then start the MHCV as well. The reason is very simple. The radius of efficiency is quite small in terms of services, not efficiency. The radius of service becomes very small in the case of LCV because LCVs are typically intra-city or just cross-city markets. So it becomes very easy to launch a product, ensure that the uptime of the vehicles is good, having the service and sales network. Once the brand is kind of established and doesn't take a lot of time, then you kind of quickly scale up with an ICV business and the ICV vehicles and then move on to MHCV. So this is something that we are looking at keenly, and today we are far, far better poised to kind of address the export market than we were 5 years ago, simply because we have a vast complement of vehicles today, both at left-hand drive and right-hand drive, and this is going to be, so the LCV initiative will also be very important from an international business perspective. But before I can say anything more, I want to hand it over to Arvind.
So I'll just start from where Gopal left on international operations. It's really to expand our footprint and enhance it more and more in the retail part of the footprint. So now, as Gopal mentioned, we have a bouquet of products. We have a variety in AVTR, a variety in the Phoenix. Both are package protected for left-hand and right-hand drive, and we continue to appoint prominent distributors in Africa and the Middle East that are already very, very strong in the countries. They're homegrown in the countries in which they operate. So you'll hear more of us on the international side. But coming specifically, you asked about the Phoenix, or rather the Bada Dost. The Bada Dost has come out of what we call the Phoenix platform. And the Phoenix platform, within the range in which it operates, will throw up more and more variants over the next quarters. And therefore, we will be expanding our, let's say, presence, but within where the Phoenix platform extends. On top of that, we will obviously be looking at participating more and more in the light commercial vehicle business overall because of, let's say, the tremendous confidence we have in our products and the gains we've had in share. You spoke about engines. I think what we call the power solutions business has really done very well last year, that despite the pandemic, we actually grew year on year. In the agriculture segment, we have a predominant market share. We are working with the construction equipment industry as well to give them engines. And as you know, there's a transition that's taking place in what is called CEV4, where we are ready, well positioned, and working with our customers. Defense is a matter of pride. We continue to expand our Stallion and Super Stallion range of vehicles. We are diversifying into tracked vehicle aggregate programs, repowering BMPs. So additionally, we are expanding our armored vehicle portfolio to new bulletproof vehicles. So we're looking at all aspects of mobility solutions with auxiliary power units. And we continue to give this focus to defense as well. So on all these fronts,
आपण ज्या
we are
व्यक्तीशी
ready.
बोलत आहात त्यांनी आपला कॉल होल्ड.
Hello, sorry. And we continue to focus on all these areas to further strengthen our portfolio of the core, which is MHCV. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Oh, okay, sorry. So thank you, Raghunandan.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. That was very comprehensive and helpful.
Thank you, sir. The next question comes from Mr. Prateek Poddar from ICICI Pru AMC. Please go ahead, sir.
Hi, so this is Prateek Poddar from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Couple of questions. Sir, one is just on the export strategy. If you can just talk a bit about how many dealers have you appointed in the last 1 year in the MENA region and in the Africa region, that would be helpful. The second question, is just a continuation that it's been 9 months with the launch of Phoenix, yet the export traction seems very limited, and that is a key part of our strategy to, have the de-cyclicality in the revenue, which we have talked about in the analyst meet. And lastly, your thoughts on CapEx for FY22. So, 2 questions.
So, Pratik, I'm going to let the business side be, responded to by Vipin. I think we'll give a CapEx outlook. It should be in the range of anywhere between 750. See, we keep saying this number, but actually we keep it very tight. The reason why we share the numbers is anywhere the capex should be about 750 crores, depending on how much of investment we want to do. But broadly, we know that we need to invest in capacity. We may need to kind of debottleneck. We are not. I wanted to clarify one thing though, because it's a 1 hour call and there's limited information that we are not looking at any major brownfield or greenfield expansion and stuff like that. I think our manufacturing guys have taken upon themselves an insurmountable challenge of making the plants even more efficient, and they have been continuously improving the throughput. And we will need some debottlenecking investments, especially on the LCV side, which we will do. What we are doing is we are paying out the rope as the demand keeps going up instead of just creating, capacity. So overall, I think it will be 750. If there is a change, we'll let you know. On the dealerships and export strategy, I would request Vipin to kind of handle.
Gopal, if I may interrupt, sorry, just one small question. On the investments in subsidiaries also, there can be an outlet provided over there. We saw 370 crores this year. Next year, what kind of investments are you looking at?
We don't know. We may require maybe another 200, 250. At the moment, I don't know. We may not also invest if it is required. The major investment, typically that happens is, one, if suppose we want to put in further initiatives if you want to make an investment in, say, HLFL, for capital adequacy, we may do that because I think they have been doing wonderfully well under the circumstances. Managed, I would say, not even whether they managed the whole COVID challenge very, very well, reasonably healthy book, sufficiently provided. And they also have expansion plans into solutions, which we'll talk about later. So if there is any capital required, which is actually money well invested, we will continue to do that. If any of the other subsidiaries require some support, we will do that. But this capex that I'm talking, 750 crores, is purely capex.
Great. Thanks.
Okay. Should I take on?
Yes, please.
Should I take?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Prateek, don't hold me to the number, but 6 or 7 strategic large distributors in clusters strategically placed around the African continent and also at the Middle East. Now, the question you asked is, why haven't we kind of grown as much? We've got to remember that many of these countries, one, have not yet come off like we had a second wave. Many haven't yet come up and opened up significantly. Secondly, the trade routes, whether it is from here to the port, from the port to, let's say, a Middle Eastern or an African route, and then inland play, have also come in under a lot of pressure. So as these open up, these distributors will come into play. And it's very, very important that we be ready and well positioned, which is what we've done during this period of relative closure over the last 15 months. The one thing that has been very good and exciting, that we launched the Ghazal and the Falcon, which is in the Middle East. This is on the partner platform. They've gone well. We are enhancing the positioning of our products in the Middle East, taking them to the next higher level as we gain prominence, as we gain more products. So we see, subject to opening up of trade routes and the countries, these distributors will be ready, and they are strong. They're strong big guys on the ground.
And what's the plan for next year? And is it fair to understand that with these 6-7 new distributors onboarded, FY22, the outlook for exports will be much more stronger than what we have seen in FY21? I mean,
so
just for the COVID impact first year.
Yeah, no, my estimation is definitely a yes. It is all subject to the opening of the countries. So, Prateek, to that extent, the readiness is there, the products are there, the training of people, the training of people on both sides, virtually that goes on. But the physical movement and the testing thereof is the only question mark, subject to opening up, let's say, from July onwards, not only here, but in those countries as well, we will see better.
And targets for next year in terms of opening up, of setting up of new distributors or strategic distributors. And sir, if I can, just if you can help us understand what kind of volumes can these distributors give, or who are these distributors? Are these like local distributors over there, or they are big industrial groups who have one auto presence also? Are they quite influential? Just trying to understand the nature of these dealerships and what kind of growth they can drive for Ashok Leyland.
Okay, so I'll talk about distributors. One, they are big industrial houses who are of that country and who've grown up in that country, or let's say cluster of countries, in some case 2 or 3 countries around them. They also are dealers in automobiles, so they understand, not in commercial vehicles, but in I'm talking of not in Indian commercial vehicles, they could be other commercial vehicles, but they're focused on various, they actually are diversified companies. They do have, most of them, except maybe one, most of them have an automobile background of some kind, so they're familiar with the industry. And what we are ensuring is that there's a separate vertical that's developed, there's a separate general manager or CEO who will focus with a separate team on Ashok Leyland products.
And how many dealers you wish to, super dealers or these conglomerates you wish to add in FY22?
That will continue. I won't put a number, We'll continue to we've got to look at what is the opportunity. The opportunity is having appointed 6 or 7. We've got to make sure they come out and perform. And wherever we notice any gaps, we will fill those gaps. But the main thing is now to ensure that these people come out, we focus with them and help them develop and grow.
Thank you so much and all the best. Thanks. Thanks for the details.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. The next question comes from Mr. Aditya from HDFC. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Just 2 big picture questions. One is that in the recent Daimler Day event which was held, the company mentioned that hydrogen fuel cells will play a very important role in the next 10 years because EVs will not be possible for the large, 16-ton plus kind of trucks. So, how do you see this evolving, the, alternate fuel environment? And second is, with the dedicated freight corridor now being connected to Mundra, so you have a connection from Mundra to Delhi to transport containers. How will the CV ecosystem adjust to this new sort of alternate mechanism which is now ready with the railway? Thanks.
Okay. Gopal, you want to comment or should I take it?
Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay. Aditya, very good questions. And what we see is while EVs will be essentially a metro and suburban, let's say, suburban city play, at least in the initial period, as an ecosystem develops, whether it's for passenger buses or for eLCVs. The larger vehicles, as you rightly said, will be, and especially those which are intercity and intercountry, and a large country like ours, we think will be continue to be powered with IC engines for the future, combined with, let's say, oil blends, which we are talking to the government with, whether it's LNG or whether it's biodiesel or any other form, ethanol. And in a future term, as you said, and we are very clear about that as well, hydrogen fuel cells. Now, this will play out over the next few years. Are we getting ready for it in terms of testing, developing our own capability, talking to people who are important in the ecosystem? The answer is yes. We do think that the large trucks that will ply across the nation could well be powered by the hydrogen fuel cells. Now, there's a lot of conversation going on. You read about it in the press, as well as the fact that the government in its budget has allocated a significant sum of money to what is called the National Hydrogen Mission. So an ecosystem will develop, and we want to ensure we are part of that ecosystem. Of course, it will take time, but we are working on it. The dedicated freight corridor lines will not have, there's a study which has been done really. There are several studies available. The impact on the overall TIV will not be significant. There could be on the long haul in certain applications, but what is important is that last mile mining, infra projects, those won't be impacted at all. The other is the customer may or may not be comfortable with transshipment taking place. And as long as we continue to compete, we continue to provide the customer with confidence that we can deliver door to door instead of transshipment taking place. And we as a commercial vehicle industry, I think the impact of the DFC will not be that significant. Now, having said that, the initial load that will transfer to the DFC will be from the current passenger lines which hold up our passenger vehicles in any case. So it is the existing load that will transfer to the DFC, and then as the DFC goes further, more and more load comes in. But we obviously will view this very carefully and ensure that we are competitive and provide the customer with that.
Got it, sir. Thank you for the detailed answer.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question comes from Mr. Mukesh Sharaf from Spark Capital. Please go ahead, sir.
Yes, so good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. My question is on general longer-term margin trends. I mean, if you look at the previous peak in FY19 in terms of the TIV, we touched about 11% margins. So just trying to understand what are the positives and negatives, right now playing out, especially say with the way the BS6 costs have come in and then steel costs going up. And probably last time around we had the Pantnagar benefit, which we'll not have now. If we go back to the FY19 kind of TIV levels, could we kind of beat those previous margin peaks based on, say, the Avatar platform and maybe some other steps that you're taking? Or how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, I'll just very quickly tell you that, I think there are 2-3 things that we see happening. One is, we believe that we are somewhere close to the bottom in terms of demand. Let us look at the demand scenario. We are saying that because of COVID, a lot of, while industry, I think that there's a lot of opening up that is still further to be done. And once that happens, it's going to positively impact freight movement. The other opportunity which I had mentioned earlier, and so had our MD, was that on the passenger side, virtually, there's 80% of the TIV has come up. So there's a huge opportunity that is going to come up as the state transport undertakings, intercity buses, schools, all start opening up. So at some point in time, this will happen. Whether it will happen in 6 months, whether it will happen in 1 year, is long-term COVID going to stay, we don't know. Now, even if it were to stay, assuming that it has to stay, we see another opportunity in that. And it's not that we are morbid about it. The point is, social distancing as a norm, as a habit, will also start. Somewhere it will start, and when it has already started, it will continue. When that happens, you're going to see lesser number of people in a bus, lesser number of people packed in possibly. So when that happens, you're going to see that the demand for buses could actually go up. The other portion is that, as we move forward, with the demand catching up with the easing of COVID, we also would see that the trifurcation that has happened in the industry, right? So long haul, ICV and LCV actually creates further opportunities in terms of, profitable freighting. We are seeing that happening. People are not getting, they are getting more, specific. There's a lot of, I would say, analysis that is being done. There's a lot of now science to the freighting industry, which is again good for us. So as we move forward, I think we're going to see that the pricing adjustment will also happen with the demand coming up. So we could possibly see, margins being more rational in the MHCV side. Touchwood, we have, the LCV margins are good. The industry is far, far more rational than the MHCV side. And that is also helping us because the LCV business is significantly more profitable. But when the total cost of ownership is seen from a customer end, especially on the MHCV side, with vehicles being on the BS6, technology, I think you would see that with the demand coming in, we should see investments in this sector going up. This is a larger take that we want to, we kind of want to share. So while now it looks very challenging and we are going through a lot of challenge in terms of COVID, a little bit of discounting happening, trying to get the eye of the customer and all that, I think the whole industry, the freight industry, is becoming far, far more organized than what it was in the past. And that is good news for MHCV players. Vipin, would you want to add something?
No, I think you've done it, summarized it well. Let me just add, Gopal mentioned total cost of ownership. Now, the important thing is that what does the Avatar deliver? It is a modular business platform which actually, Gopal mentioned about, virtual customization to a customer's specific application. The customer knows his or her application. He actually builds a truck based on that basis. So there are no wastages. And today we are getting fluid efficiencies, we believe, which is superior to others. Therefore, that creates a value. Now, the value is in the product, but the value will also be in the services that we provide. What's important is we have something called the iAlert platform. It's real-time information in coming from each truck back into a control room, so that we are monitoring the performance of the truck, the health of the truck, the viability of the truck, and then feeding it back to the customer, so that he drives or she drives efficiencies across their freight movement as well. All of that value is what we'll capture into better margins while ensuring that operational efficiencies were run very, very tight. So we see that as a positive move. And remember, just wanted to add also that tippers is an important part of the segment, and the horsepowers are also moving up, and we're getting ready for those horsepowers as well. Those will give better margins.
Right. Understood. Thank you for that. And just a very quick one, secondly, how are the inventory levels right now in the system? I mean, at the channel level and at the plant?
I think Balaji has been too quiet in this call. So, Balaji, would you want to share the inventory levels at least at the factory level, what it is?
Inventory level as at the year end was 3,400 vehicles, Mukesh.
This is at the plant, sir?
This will be certainly higher than the last year. We had last year 1,243 vehicles with zero inventory on the domestic MHCV side. All this last year inventory were representing IO and defense vehicles because of BS6 switchover.
Right. And channel inventory, how would that be right now?
Well, I would say that the channel inventory is, you see, what is happening is that the channel inventory is, I don't have the numbers readily with me now, unfortunately, because I wasn't prepared for it, but there is sufficient stock in the channel. The point is because when you actually transfer it to the channel, then there is a lockdown. Then the channel does have is having a sufficient number of stock. There are two things that I would share with you though. One is we don't push into the channel. So what we are trying to do is closely monitor the retails and then ensure that whenever we are actually selling to the channel, and this is done channel-wise, we have to ensure that the retail is the same or higher than the wholesale that we do to them. So I think over the next couple of months, you will see the situation change. And this is being done on the expectation that, the current opening up that has happened will continue to do. And once that happens, you will actually see that the throughput through the channel will be much, much more efficient. That's all I can share with you now.
Sure. Understood. Thanks a lot, sir, for this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next question comes from Mr. Satyam Thakur from Credit Suisse. Please go ahead, sir.
Hi, good morning, sir, and thank you for taking my question. Just a couple of questions. Firstly, if you could share how the trend on industry discounting in MHCVs has moved. In December quarter, you had shared that it had gone up. So what happened in the March quarter, and then subsequently in the June quarter? Because some checks are indicating it might have gone up further. So where are we on that now?
Well, I'll also have our MD give his perspectives, but broadly the discounting levels are still quite high. I'm not going to say that they have they have come out. In fact, they have been marginally higher. That's the point. I mean, I think that while we will continue to pursue market share, we will grow market share. But what we are doing is we are looking at, and we have done that over the past 5-6 years, right? I mean, we've looked at total cost of ownership, differentiated technology, service, network, channel profitability. These are the 5 levers that we will adopt to ensure that we are growing in the customer's mind share. Finally, the customer, whichever customer who actually buys a truck saying that this is 50,000 rupees cheaper or somebody is giving a discount, I think those kind of sales will last for some time, but they cannot last continually, because what will happen is the customer owns this vehicle for 10 years. So what we would want to do is to pour better quality inside the vehicle, ensure that we are backing it with AMCs, if necessary, even with extended warranty, because we are confident about our product, and that is how we are doing our sales. But with all of this, we have been gaining share over the last 4 quarters, and I think that this is the right strategy for the medium term. But to answer your question, discounts are higher than what it was in maybe even a couple of quarters ago. And hopefully there would be rationality coming in as we move forward. But our one thing that I would want to leave a message very clearly, and I'm sure our MD will also kind of mention the strategy, is we will pursue growth and we will pursue profitable growth. And it is not going to be one at the cost of the other. And hopefully we will see this happen. MD, over to you.
Yeah, just to add, really, it's about selling value. It's about selling the technology we've built in and which is going to deliver. And as the customer experience, remember, customer experience in the last 15 months or 12 months has also been limited, again, because of start, stop. But as whatever feedback we have, it's about delivering value. And as growth comes back, the discounting will ease off as well. The focus will be not to buy share, but to earn share and earn it profitably through the quality of product, service, and digital technology.
Thank you for that. And the second question that I had was, could you throw some light on, what's happening really with our customers on the MHCV side? So the truck operators, broadly, and combining what you know also from Leyland Finance. So what's the collection efficiency trend like in June? What is the truck fleet utilization like in June for our customers? And is it improved enough in June now that gives us confidence that the recovery in sales could be very near, or how would we think about it?
See, I would only say one thing. I think the fleet utilization in the month of June is a little too early because we're just toying out of. May, June are not really great months, right? So I would say that let us wait for a couple of more months. See, logic tells us this is nothing. I mean, we don't require some very great science to know this, that if the economy opens up, we're going to see more trucks rolling on the roads. We're going to see more transportation. And if all of you pundits there believe that there is a good run for the index, let us also, and I'm not telling it in a lighter note, we're kind of stitching together all the patterns, right? So if we believe that the Sensex and the index is going to do wonderfully well, stock markets are going to do well, that can happen only if the GDP starts to grow. And if more production happens, then all industries start to grow. So there is no reason why we believe that something different is going to happen. But fleet utilization numbers in the month of June is something that, it's not a great thing. But as far as it's not a very important statistic. I don't know the number, to be candid with you. But I'm sure that fleet utilization in June is far, far superior to fleet utilization in May. That is for sure. Because, we are seeing that the unlocking is happening. And the government even is looking at opening up schools over the next couple of months. And hopefully with, the COVID injections coming through, the confidence that all of us will have to get back onto normalcy will also be much higher. The second part that I would say before I hand it over to our MD is on the collection efficiency. I think the collection efficiency of, HLFL has been quite healthy. I'll provide you the number. The overall efficiency is now at almost, I think, about 90%, if my memory serves me right. And that's why we are. So the collection efficiency for April, for example, is 90%. That's right. I don't have the number for May and June, but things are definitely much better. HLFL, as it's concerned, has got an ROE of 11.6%. They have had GNPA of 4%, NPA of 2%. There has been sufficient provision taken for COVID, cumulative provision that has happened, over the last year and FY 2021 is nearly 200 crores, over 200 crores. So I think, their portfolio, the other thing is while they do help, they partner Ashok Leyland in financing Ashok Leyland trucks, they have a very healthy mix of the contra-cyclical portfolios, so loan against property, they acquire assets from other lenders. Then they've got two-wheeler, they've got three-wheeler, they've got off-road applications. So, that mix of business is also kind of ensuring that, the entire business is de-risked. But we are definitely seeing improvement in the collections, even in the MHCV customers over the last 2-3 months. And that is also, I think, felt in the banking sector as well. So things are definitely looking much, much better than they were 2 quarters back. MD, over to you. I know I kind of gave a very longish answer, but over to you, sir.
No, you've absolutely covered it. I have really nothing to add except Satyam May and June have been tough for the country as a whole on health and safety. And hopefully, we must ensure that we follow protocol, we get vaccinated, and help the economy now move forward. And as the economy moves forward, freight is a natural impact of, it's a core industry. And the core industry will move if the economy moves, and we are confident that the government, with public spending, will ensure that we are focused on building infrastructure and create movement of goods and services across the country.
Great. Thank you for your detailed answers.
All the best. Thanks.
Sir, before we wind up, it would be better if we brief the audience on the ICD's front.
Yeah. So, we can do that. There is nothing actually to brief, but since people are curious about it, and frankly, for us, it's not something that's hugely material. But as on 31st of March 2021, all the ICDs have been repaid back. So, in fact, a little earlier. Uh, 21. So ICDs on the book as on 31st of March 2021 is 0.
Hello?
Thank you,
Hello.
sir.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Sir, due to time constraint, that was the last question for the day. Now I hand over the call to Mr. Nishit Jalan for closing comments.
Thank you, Mamta. On behalf of Axis Capital, I would like to thank Ashok Leyland management and all the participants for joining the call today. I understand that some of the participants faced a little delay in joining the call. My apologies for that. Vipin, Gopal, any closing comments from your side, or should we continue the call?
I think I'll hand it to Vipin to give the closing comments.
Okay, no, I think first, thank you very much. I think just number one, we must be focused on health and safety, all of us as citizens, to ensure that we help ourselves as well as the government and the economy to come out of this safely. The second is, we as Ashok Leyland look very positively at the future in terms of products, in terms of what we are doing on EVs, in terms of the product platforms we've created, and will continue to do that. We will continue to gain within domestically, but also go overseas. We are proud of supplying to the defense and our associated businesses. Finally, we will continue to create value for the customer in all aspects of what the customer needs. It's more and more catering to specific needs of customer through better products and better services. And finally, I think we have a great set of people, very talented people, who are good for the present and the future of Ashok Leyland. And I must thank the investment community for your continued support to us. And thank you very much. Please stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we conclude our conference call for today.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Momita. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Balajit, thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we conclude our conference call for today. Thank you for your participation and for using Doorsabha's conference call service. You may all disconnect your lines now. Thank you and have a good day, everyone.